The U.S. destroyer fired several rounds toward an Iran-flagged cargo ship.
The USS Carney fired the American military's first shot in what threatens to become a wider Middle East war.
Were attacked by at least 8 one-way attack uncrewed aerial systems, 5 anti-ship ballistic missiles, and 3 anti-ship cruise missiles, which were successfully engaged and defeated.
217 local, Bab el-Mandeb Strait. Moonlight is sliding across black water. Merchant traffic is crawling north towards Suez. But in 9 minutes, this choke point becomes a chessboard of radar beams, missile smoke, and hard decisions. One Iranian ship is about to challenge a multinational maritime cordon. What happens next will send a message to every Navy watching. The setting is real. The Bab el-Mandeb is one of the most strategic waterways on Earth, the narrow gate between the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. To the west, Djibouti and Eritrea. To the east, Yemen. Around it, real instability, real missiles, real drones, real shipping lanes carrying fuel, food, and trade between Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. And because of months of attacks on commercial traffic in this region, a U.S.-led maritime security screen has tightened around the southern Red Sea in this hypothetical scenario. Tonight, that screen is anchored by real kinds of assets. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, USS Mason, holding a patrol box north of the Strait. Another destroyer farther east, watching the Gulf of Aden approach. An MQ-9 feed relayed through Camp Lemonnier in Djibouti. A P-8A Poseidon high overhead, scanning broad area maritime traffic with radar and electro-optical sensors. And farther out, beyond the immediate horizon, carrier aircraft sitting on alert. Imagine you're here, on the bridge wing, tasting salt and diesel in the air, hearing the steady slap of water against steel, knowing that every faint light on the horizon could be a tanker, a fishing boat, or a trap. The ship at the center of this story is also built on reality. IRIS Makran, Iran's massive forward-based ship, more than 230 meters long, converted from a tanker, able to carry helicopters and act as a mobile logistics platform. In our fictional scenario, she is not here for symbolism. She is here to force a passage. Her declared mission is humanitarian support and maritime presence. Her actual cargo, according to the intelligence picture, is far darker. Drone engines, anti-ship missile components, encrypted communications gear, and advisors meant for militant partners on Yemen's coast. From Tehran's perspective, the plan looks brilliant. Move at night, mask the ship inside legitimate traffic, exploit the political hesitation of firing on a state vessel. Use the crowded shipping lane as legal and tactical cover. If challenged, trigger a layered distraction. Drones from containerized launch racks, a swarm of armed fast boats from the Yemeni side, and anti-ship missiles cued from shore. Not a fleet action. Not an all-out war. A calculated attempt to overload decision-makers long enough for one ship to slip through. And that's the strategic logic. Break the cordon once, publicly, and the blockade stops looking like control and starts looking like theater. Deliver the cargo, embarrass the U.S. Navy, prove that maritime pressure can be pierced, and show every proxy force in the region that distance and interdiction no longer matter. That is what they think they are about to achieve. But there's a problem with their plan. They are assuming the Americans are looking at a single ship. They are not. They are looking at a pattern. Days earlier, a dhow intercepted farther south yielded shipping documents with mismatched tonnage figures. Commercial satellite imagery showed Makran's deck layout had changed. The P-8A's radar picked up unusual shapes topside that did not match her declared support profile. Emissions analysis caught short, disciplined bursts from systems that should have been silent. While Iranian planners believed they were approaching a gap in the net had already closed. Now ask yourself this. If you are the captain of USS Mason, when does suspicion become certainty? When do you switch from shadowing to stopping? Because once that line is crossed, there is no rewind. At 2:21, the first alert moves through the network. 5th, Fleet Watch Floor to Task Force Command. Command to destroyers. Destroyers to combat. On Mason, the lighting in Combat Information Center shifts red. Consoles brighten. Tracks tighten. The SPY radar paints the surface picture. Link feeds update in bursts. The voice circuits come alive. Unknown state vessel. Probable hostile intent. Possible coordinated support from shore. Boarding team. Stand by. Air detachment. Man your aircraft. You're there now. shoulder to shoulder in CIC, hearing the clipped calm of professionals who know panic kills faster than missiles. At 2:24, the P-8A confirms it. Thermal imagery shows deck activity. Heat blooms around covered launcher positions. Small boats are moving off the Yemeni coast in 1s and 2s, then 4s, then more. A data packet from the MQ-9 catches a vehicle convoy near the shoreline, halting beneath camouflage netting. That convoy was not there an hour ago. Now it is. And that changes everything. USS Mason issues the first challenge. Course, cargo, and compliance query. No answer. A second hail, warning that the vessel is approaching a restricted interdiction line established under multinational maritime security operations in this fictional scenario. Still nothing. Then Makran turns 2 degrees to port. Small movement, huge meaning. Not enough to evade, just enough to line up her launch deck and keep her strongest visual profile masked from the destroyer. Could you make that call in real time? Is that navigation? Is that defiance? Or is that the final tell? At 2:27, it stops being ambiguous. 2 rectangular covers on Makran's deck flip open, then 4 more. The P-8A crew sees it first. Launch indications. A heartbeat later, Mason sees the infrared signatures. Then the night tiers. 1 drone lifts, then 3, then 8, then 12. Shahed-style one-way attack drones, slow but deadly, climbing off improvised rails and turning north. Almost simultaneously, radar picks up fast inbounds from shore level. Not aircraft, not boats. Sea-skimming missiles, 4 of them. Behind them, 10 fast attack craft punch through the dark, engines screaming, wake glowing white under moonlight. This was never a bluff. It was a combined breach attempt. The American response is immediate because it was built long before this night began. This is what integrated defense looks like when it works. High threat, mid threat, surface threat. Each one assigned, tracked, and engaged in layers. First layer, the missiles. Mason's Aegis system locks the 4 sea skimmers as they race low over the water. The launch command is given. 2 standard missiles leap from the vertical launch cells with a violent flash that turns the deck white. Seconds later, 2 more follow. You don't hear a heroic soundtrack here. You hear metal recoil, alarms, shouted confirmations, the deep concussion of missiles leaving steel tubes. The first intercept happens 21 miles out, a bright orange tier over black water. Second intercept, 17 miles. Third, 11. The 4th missile survives longest, weaving through clutter, dropping lower, trying to disappear inside the sea return. An ESSM launches. Then another. The leaker vanishes in a burst so sharp and sudden the nearby waves glow. 4 launched, 4 destroyed. Second layer, the drones. Slow threats are deceptive. They give you seconds, then steal them all at once. The drone wave splits, 6 angling toward the destroyer screen, 6 climbing to complicate tracking and maybe dive later. Carrier aircraft already airborne on alert are pushed forward. 2F, A-18E, F, Super Hornets, come in hot from the southeast. One uses an AIM, 9X, on the lead drone at distance. Clean kill. The other guns, a second drone at close range, tracers arcing through the dark. Mason and the Eastern Destroyer take the rest in sequence with a mix of standard missiles and evolved Sea Sparrow missiles, saving the last defensive ring for anything that leaks through. One drone does. It comes in low, skimming beneath smoke and fragments, its engine whining like a chainsaw in the sky. That is the sound sailors remember, not the big launches. That ugly mechanical buzz coming straight at you. Phalanx CIWS wakes up. The system finds, tracks, and erupts. A stream of 20mm rounds reaches into the dark and the drone disappears less than a mile out, scattering burning debris across the water like sparks from a grinder. 12 drones launched. 12 drones destroyed. Third layer, the boats. Now the surface fight begins, and this is where chaos can fool you. The fast attack craft are not trying to sink destroyers outright. They are trying to saturate vision, force maneuver, create uncertainty for boarding, and maybe get one lucky rocket shot into exposed gear. They come in staggered lines, some armed with machine guns, others with rockets, all counting on speed and confusion. They run into discipline. An MH-60R Seahawk lifts off with its sensors already hunting. Another helicopter follows from the support ship farther back. Laser-guided rockets streak downward, walking across the lead boats. One breaks apart. Another spins and burns. Mason's Mk-38 25mm guns join in. Then the 5-inch gun sends a round screaming past the bow of an incoming craft as a final warning. It keeps coming. The second round does not warn. It ends the argument. From the enemy's view, this is where the illusion collapses. They thought they were launching a distraction. Instead, every move is being categorized and killed in order. Every angle covered. Every domain linked. Air, surface, electronic, legal, tactical. Not a battle, not a test. An execution of a response plan. In less than 4 minutes, 6 of the 10 fast boats are destroyed or dead in the water. 2 break off toward shore. 2 keep charging, desperate now. Crews exposed behind mounted guns. The Seahawk rolls in again. Short burst, flash, silence. The water around the formation is now dotted with burning wreckage and men in the sea. And through all of it, Makran is still moving. That matters, because the real target is not the swarm. It is the ship trying to use the swarm. At 2:33, the request goes up the chain. Hostile act confirmed. Coordinated drone launch. Coordinated missile launch. Coordinated small boat attack. Authorization requested for disabling fire, electronic suppression, and maritime seizure of the vessel. The answer comes back fast because the law of armed conflict and the rules of engagement in this hypothetical setup have already been briefed. Approved. Now the U.S. response shifts from defense to control. First comes the electronic punch, an EA-18G Growler orbiting outside the immediate engagement zone floods the spectrum. The effect is invisible but brutal. Makran's external communications start dropping. Data links stutter. Some remote triggers fail. Whatever was supposed to happen next aboard that ship begins to fracture. Then the visible force arrives. 2 Super Hornets slash overhead and release precision-guided weapons not at the hull, not to sink her, but at the systems that let her fight and flee. One strike shreds the exposed launcher racks on deck. Another smashes the communications mast. A third detonates near the aft aviation support area, wrecking fuel handling gear and covering the deck in black smoke. Makran shudders and slows, but she does not stop. So, USS Mason gets closer. This is the moment sailors hate, because bigger ships are not less dangerous at short range. They are worse. They are floating cities with steel momentum and unknown damage states. Imagine you're on that bridge now, range collapsing, adrenaline high, every eye jumping between radar repeater, optical sight, and black silhouette ahead. If that ship turns hard at the wrong second, you have collision danger, gun danger, boarding danger, escalation danger all at once. Mason fires warning shots across the bow. Makran answers with gunfire from the superstructure. That decision seals her fate. Counter battery is immediate. The destroyer's 5-inch gun hammers precise points on the Iranian ship's upper works, ripping through visible firing positions and shredding exposed deck equipment. Mark 38s rake the bridge wings. Another helicopter takes down a rigid hull boat trying to peel off from Makran's starboard side. The second destroyer shifts position to cut off any run south. There is no open lane now, only pressure. Then the engines falter. Whether from damage, shock, or deliberate shutdown by a crew that realizes the game is over, Makran loses speed and falls below 5 knots. Smoke rolls aft. The bow wake shrinks. For a ship that large, that slowdown is the maritime equivalent of a giant dropping to one knee. Boarding teams launch. Not movie heroes, not reckless chargers, professionals. Navy visit, board, search, and seizure teams, with air cover overhead and RHIBs carving through the chop. An MH-60 circles above with a sniper team scanning rails, hatches, and ladders. The first boarding ladder hooks under a blackened section of deck. The first Americans climb. Heart pounding. Gloves on steel. Weapons up. Every hatch a question. Every corridor a gamble. Could you do it? After missiles, drones, and naval gunfire, would you step onto that deck not knowing who is waiting behind the next bulkhead? They move fast and methodically. Bridge secured. Engine control secured. Communications room seized. Flight deck cleared. Resistance comes in bursts, then collapses. Some Iranian sailors surrender immediately. Others try to destroy documents. One compartment is found with drone guidance kits, stacked in foam-lined crates. Another holds anti-ship missile components hidden behind declared engineering cargo. Laptops, encrypted radios, optical seekers, airframes in sections, not relief supplies, not maritime aid. A covert resupply pipeline. By 2:46, the boarding commander reports the words every operations center wants to hear: vessel secure. Read that timing again. From first launch indications to seizure, less than half an hour. And the counterattack doesn't stop at the hull, because once hostile shore units have joined the fight, they become part of the target set. In this scenario, U.S. aircraft strike the coastal missile launch vehicles that fired into the shipping lane, along with the command truck feeding them data. Precision, not spectacle. A surgical strike to deny the next salvo, not ignite the whole region. That is the point. Break the chain, blind the shooters, capture the evidence, end the capability. Final tally: 1 Iranian forward base ship challenged, 4 anti-ship missiles fired, 4 destroyed, 12 drones launched, 12 destroyed, 10 fast attack craft committed, 8 disabled or sunk, 2 fled, 1 major vessel seized intact, 0 U.S. ships lost, 0 strategic breakthrough achieved. The human cost is still real. In this fictional scenario, 7 Iranian personnel are killed, 23 wounded, and more than 80 detained for transfer and processing. On the U.S. side, 5 sailors and 2 boarders are wounded, mostly by fragmentation and splinters, but all survive. That matters. In war at sea, the line between a clean interdiction and a funeral detail can be 1 missile, 1 bad radar return, 1 late decision. The entire operation lasts 42 minutes from first alert to full control of the ship. Less time than most people spend commuting to work. Less time than a school period. Less time than a lunch break. In 42 minutes, a blockade challenge becomes a failed breach, a missile ambush becomes a captured logistics node, and a strategic gamble becomes a public humiliation. And that humiliation is the real aftermath, because ships can be repaired, cargo can be replaced. What is harder to restore is credibility. Tehran, in this scenario, wanted to prove that a state-backed maritime run could pierce a U.S.-led cordon in one of the world's most sensitive choke points. Instead, the attempt demonstrates the opposite. If the network is integrated, if the operators are trained, and if the political authority is ready to act, the ship is often defeated before the first interceptor ever launches. That is the lesson here. Modern naval warfare is no longer just about tonnage, missiles, or who has the bigger hull. It is about who sees first, who understands first, and who connects sensors to shooters faster. Information dominance is not a slogan. It is survival. While one side believed it was approaching a seam in the system, the other side had already stitched that seam shut. And there's the deeper question. If one heavily defended ship cannot force a passage through a monitored choke point without triggering a cascade of detection, interception, and seizure, what does that say about the future of coercion at sea? Does it make navies more cautious, or does it make them more dangerous, because they know hesitation gets punished? Which decision was most critical? Debate below. Hit subscribe for in-depth military breakdowns.